just got the first official trailer for Zootopia 2, and it has been a long time coming. To tell you the truth, I'm actually surprised it's been almost 10 years since the release of the first movie, and it's only now we're just getting a sequel. After all, it's not every day when you release a film and it grosses over $1 billion. That's what Zootopia did. It seemingly came out of nowhere and drew big numbers at the box office and became the 4th highest grossing animated film ever made up to that point. In the year since, it's fallen down the charts quite a lot to 14th, but that's just how these things go. However, that's why I'm a bit shocked that we hadn't seen anything sooner. It's just odd to put a huge heavy hitter like this on the back burner, isn't it? Although I suppose it's because in the early 2020s, Disney and Pixar were both trying to make more original content. Pixar especially had gone hard with the sequels in the 2010s, although Disney had had a lot of success with original content in their revival era, so I suppose it was just more of the same. Of course, post-COVID, a lot of these films did not do too hot, and now we're back to a sequels era. I'm actually really hyped about that, to tell you the truth. A lot of other animated studios are still making original content that I'm very much enjoying, and so I'm very happy for them to work on the franchises instead for the time being. So now there isn't really much else to do except to jump right into the trailer. As usual, alongside the trailer, we've been given a helpful little blurb that'll give us a bit of insight into the film and its narrative. It reads, after cracking the biggest case in Zootopia's history, rookie cops Judy Hopps and Nick Wilde find their partnership isn't as solid as first thought when Chief Bogo orders them to join the Partners in Crisis counseling program. But it doesn't take long for their partnership to be put to the ultimate test, when they find themselves on the twisting trail of a mystery tied to the arrival of a venomous snake in the animal metropolis. Okay, so once again, we're diving into a sort of whodunit mystery adventure, much in the same way as the first film. I wonder if they're going to have a big twist ending like they did in the first movie. I'll be honest, in the years since that movie was released, it's become a whole lot easier for me to spot twist villains, and honestly at this point they're probably a bit overplayed for my liking. It seems like every second animated film tries to pull one out, as trends like this often do get beaten into the ground. Anyway, as long as the film's able to maintain that same feel as the first one, I think it's going to be all good. With all that being said though, it's time to dive into the trailer. We start off with a group therapy session with Dr. Fuzzby, which has seemingly been mandated by the Zootopia City Police Department. Immediately, this whole scene is just such a trip with so much ridiculous stuff on display. Quinta Brunson's doing a great voiceover as the therapist. That slow and calming voice that almost comes across as slightly pretentious, it's just great acting. However, what really drew my attention is the fact that for some reason, they've got a poster on the wall that says, the safe word is coconut. Now, I don't think I've ever seen the concept of a safe word used outside of a sexual context, and whenever it crops up in any sort of show, book, or film, it's always being used in regards to BDSM. It's certainly not something I was expecting to see in a kids' animated movie, that's for sure. In terms of the therapy session, some of the animals should simply not be partners, I think, and I question why they're even at the session to begin with. They should just be split up. Greg is clearly a touchy-feely creep, and Merlin does not like it that he keeps touching him. On top of that, Greg doesn't even seem to care that much beyond being slightly annoyed when he's told to stop. Then the trailer gives us an ear-bleeding jump scare with our next set of unlikely partners, Francine the elephant and Clark the mouse. For starters, what the hell did they do to that voice actor to get that truly blood-curdling scream? Did they set them on fire? Also, has Bogo just been a troll when he assigned an elephant to work with a mouse? It defies all practicality, doesn't it? And seems like an accident waiting to happen. By the way, I love that Clark's name tag just takes up his entire body. It's so silly. I love it! We then get the introduction to the idea that not everything's going well in the partnership of Nick and Judy. Apparently, it's only been a single week since Nick graduated and joined the force and was partnered up with Judy, and yet they've already been sent to this crisis group therapy session. I have to wonder why. The first thing that comes to mind is that both Nick and Judy have a very different perspective on the law, and also they have very differing personalities. I think this means that they probably have different approaches to how to handle a case, which in turn means they've probably bungled a couple in the course of a week. Obviously, I think it's nothing too severe, and it hasn't gone too far. I think it's just meant to be early growing pains. It's clearly nothing as bad as what all these other partners are suffering from, because we can see that Nick and Judy are both pretty freaked out by it all when they see these couples going absolutely nuts. We have a final excellent gag at the end where Karen, a honey badger, starts to throttle her partner, a deer named Joel, as she took his smile as an act of aggression. And since she can't be calmed by being blasted with a water spray bottle, the therapist is forced to call for the use of a hose. Yikes indeed. Maybe that particular cop should be assigned to permanent desk duty if seeing a simple smile is enough to send her into a frothing rage. Also, whilst the joke is funny and all, isn't the whole point of the first movie to show that predators no longer go into savage mode and that it was a racist thing to assume that they have this predatory nature underneath them all? It was revealed that they were simply being drugged. Meanwhile, here we legitimately have a character who quite literally is everything that people fearmongered about in the first movie. Just a bit of an odd choice, I suppose. Also, is it just me who thinks that this type of group therapy session where they quite matter-of-factly analyse your entire personality and all its flaws in front of everybody is just a bit weird? Like when she's picking apart Nick and Judy and everything they've done wrong in the session so far, it just felt a bit mean-spirited. Then again, I've never been to therapy, and so maybe this is normal. It just feels weird to deep dive into things like your personality flaws in front of a group of strangers who are also your work colleagues. So really, that scene doesn't really show us all that much, other than to just set the scene of what the character dynamics might be like in the film, and to showcase that they're going to have some issues working together. I do hope they don't linger on those issues too much in the movie though. Let's not forget in the first one, they did have them briefly part ways due to Judy giving that press conference where she kind of throws predators under the bus completely, and then almost pulls out her fox spray when Nick baits her into it as a test. So having them once again go through some fairly similar angst would be a bit of a rehash, all things considered. I certainly think there is room for a bit of it, but it shouldn't consume the narrative and should be resolved with a proper conversation and character growth, not through them going their separate ways. Moving on, we cut to Nick and Judy in the office of the chief, and they're still wearing the same clothes that they were before, which would suggest it's the same day. I wonder why they aren't in uniforms like everybody else was in the therapy session or in the office either. Are they suspended or are they simply plainclothes police officers? Anyway, this sequence starts to dive into the actual plot of the film, it seems. Bogo sits them down and tells them that their new assignment's going to be make or break. Seriously, after a week it's at the stage that they are make or break, and if they don't succeed, their partnership's getting split up? Feels a bit premature. After all, like I said, it's been a week. How many cases could they have possibly stuffed up at this point? Then again, part of me does think the scene was somewhat spliced up, as the audio has a point where you can tell it isn't flowing properly, and that it's two sentences that have been fused together for the sake of the trailer. So I think in the end, the context might actually be quite different. I think they're going to get forced to go to therapy, and then when they return, they're going to be given this case. I do wonder why they're hunting the snake though. Has he been accused of committing a crime of some sort, or is there simply a blanket ban on reptiles entering Zootopia, which is a city that only contains mammals? I will say that I like that they're addressing this sort of thing, as when you look back on it, yeah, it is a bit weird that there are no birds or reptiles or what have you in the city or any other areas that we see. So it's going to be cool to explore it. I also noticed that when they're talking to Bogo about potentially being split as a pair, there's this warthog guy in the background, and I'm pretty sure he was chasing them in the first teaser for the film. So I suspect that this means that at some point they're going to catch up with the snake, they're going to realize it was all a big misunderstanding or that he's being framed, but the police aren't going to listen to them, and so Judy and Nick are going to go on the run with this dude. We then cut to Nick and Judy in the locker room, which also has a vending machine where you see various different sizes of drink. I like that for one, you can see inside the machine is a little mouse person in high vis and a hard hat. He seems to be holding some sort of stick as well. Is he there in case the item gets stuck and you can't get it out? It's actually really clever. I also like that Nick still has this obsession with getting the jumbo size of the drink can like he used to do with the jumbo pop. I think it actually makes a lot of sense. Whilst at first you'd assume that the larger can would cost more, when you think about it, that probably wouldn't make sense, right? I suspect there'd have to be laws in place that would ensure that larger animals don't have to pay extra for that sort of thing, at least in the context of a drink can. Otherwise, surely all the large animals would just be bankrupt. Thus, it also plays into that sly fox perspective on Nick's personality. He knows that they cost the same, and so he gets bang for his buck by purchasing the big one, like he did when he melted down the jumbo pop into the little popsicles that he then sells to the mice businessman in the first movie. I'm not really sure what he was trying to do when he tossed it to Judy though. How the hell would she be able to catch it? If it's heavy enough to blast through a wall, I think it would probably have been heavy enough to kill her. Also, my god, how strong is Nick? Dude threw it a fair distance. He's standing at the machines, he throws it across the hall, it smashes through the wall, and then goes an even further distance onto the desk of that little mole Paul. It was a mighty throw from Nick. Also, imagine just going about your day working IT, and then suddenly your giant co-worker almost kills you with a drink can, which then explodes directly in your face and you get shot back and sent flying. Ouch, for one, and then also now his clothes are soaked in orange drink. Plus, I think the fizz in your eyes would really hurt. You can hear the poor dude screaming in agony and fear. Yikes, Nick, yikes. We then get a look at the city of Zootopia again, with what seems to be a new district we haven't seen before. The more I see of this world, the more it seems that being any sort of small mammal would just suck so much. Not only do we have the example of Paul the Mole, but then there are also these little mice that get swept away by a huge wave caused by the hippo that they're tattooing. Then there's also that big chase scene through Little Rodentia in the first movie as well. Just no thank you. I'd rather be big. We have a shot of some fireworks going off over a mansion, which I presume belongs to the mafia shrew Mr. Big. After all, not long after this, we have a shot of Nick and Judy all dressed up in some sort of meeting with him. Seems like he's throwing some sort of ball. He's got Gazelle booked for the night, and the cheetah cop is working the valet parking for some reason. And then we see that in the time since the end of the first movie, Big's daughter has had a daughter of her own. I enjoy that they included this type of rapid birthing for the animals. It's like how Judy's probably only in her early 20s at best, and I think is meant to be the eldest, and yet she has 1 billion siblings. Arctic shrews apparently mature quite quickly, and only gestate for 17 days. It was just fun to see a little zoological tidbit there, I suppose. Also, the Bulgari reference in the background, that was a lot of fun. At least, I think that's what it's referencing. At the gala, it seems the snake is going to be making a grand entrance and causes chaos and pandemonium. At the same time, I think I'm going to be changing my mind about who's throwing the party. I think it's being thrown by the new mayor, who's that hunky-looking horse guy. We see Nick and Judy in an old-timey, hot rod-looking car on a high-speed chase, likely going after the snake, I would suspect. Nick here is in a shirt that says Foxy Dad on it, and we see that in the poster, the Fennec Fox guy is in a rabbit onesie. Are they going to be going undercover posing as a married couple? That would be very funny. We then see the snake running, or slithering rather, and apologising. Then they're climbing up a cliff, once again likely trying to chase him down, before we cut over to the mayor at a press conference where a car slams into a statue right behind him. I think there's a good chance that Nick and Judy are driving that car. The snake in the next scene still running from them and jumps into a water slide looking thing, declaring that he has to help his family. So I'm guessing that they're probably being held hostage or something along those lines, and he's being blackmailed into doing something? That's what I'd expect. We then finish off with a scene that well and truly feels like it's developing some romantic tension with Nick and Judy, or at the very least, it's being made to try to tease the shippers. They're all dressed up for a gala with Judy putting one of the flowers from her headband into his lapel. He makes fun of how she styled her ears, then she punches him in the guts and skips away. It doesn't seem romantic when you write it down like this, but they were definitely doing something with this, even if it's just bait. On top of that, the dialogue makes it seem like going to this gala is a plan of Judy's. So it seems like they know the snake is here and they're trying to infiltrate it to find him, or this is after they've already spoken to him and they're trying to figure out what's going on. I suspect the mayor character is probably going to be a villain or involved with the shady dealings. When in doubt, you suspect the politician, that's my motto. Plus, he does look kind of dodgy to me. And so, that brings us to the end of the trailer, and it was a lot of fun. And judging by the views it's getting, I think there's quite the appetite for this movie. So far in about a day, it's gotten almost 9 million views, which is not too shabby at all. I think this is going to be a big outing at the box office for Disney. The sequel era is well and truly here. Anyway though, in the end, these have all only been my opinions, and now I'd like to hear yours. What do you think of the Zootopia 2 trailer? Did you like it? You hate it? Are you excited for the film? Maybe not. I'm curious for your thoughts, so make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know.